Harry's actually getting a bit chatty these days. He's done a couple of interviews in 3 days. I don't know what we should read into that, but on standards at Tottenham, this was Kane.
Yeah, we have to find a way to be more competitive, to be more consistent. I spoke about a few weeks ago about finding the values a bit in the club, but that's something, between me and the team and the staff and probably the chairman will talk about internally and see how we can try and bring back some of those values we had with Maurizio when he was building that team, and ultimately just try and improve. We need to be better than what we have been this season, and that starts by finishing off this season well and then leading into pre-season. Yeah, I feel like maybe we've just lost a bit of connection with the fans, over the last year or so, and we need to try and get that back as a team and try and be together in one moment and push each other to be successful. And then I just think some stuff internally which I won't go into here, but just some of the standards that maybe have dropped around the training ground, which need to improve, because they're the small details that I think can make you a competitive team or make you a team that's fighting around 6th, 7th place. So that's something we'll talk about and try and change internally for next season.
Do you know what? Danny was alluding to that when he spoke about Liverpool, Simon, and the implication of that is interesting. When you break it down, we had standards in place when Mauricio Pochettino was here, so internally we need to do that. Daniel Levy will make a decision on who he thinks is best for the club in terms of the coach, the players to go, and who he wants to bring in. So maybe, we had standards under Poch, but maybe not under Conte.
Well, yes, that would be the natural conclusion you draw from that, albeit they've all had lots to say about how much they love Antonio Conte. I think if you ask a footballer certain questions in a certain way, you'll get the answers that they know are best to serve out the cause of advancing the notion that there's things to be put right and we're all going to club together to do that. Fantastic. Why didn't you do it previously? Because I can't believe... Look, the reason why there's disconnect between the fans and the players is because the players and the management team have not done what they needed to have done. Look at Arteta. Look at the difference between Arsenal and their fans and Arteta, because the manager's at it, the players are at it. The manager's been at it at Tottenham under a different auspice of at it, been at it trying to get out the door because he doesn't want to be there, right, and set the place on fire, right? And then you've got the players that don't have enough about them to be able to overcome the adversities that we've seen them fall foul to. So that's the reason why, Harry. It's not a difficult... You don't need to go to Mensa to work that one out. We can understand the reasons why the fans aren't with you right now, because they're a little bit peed off with what they're seeing on the pitch. Now, I don't think it takes very much to get it back on top. And if Pochettino is the blueprint, then fine. But you've got to get a manager in there that, first of all, wants to be there and stop worrying about, the reality of... the Conte situation disappoints me endlessly, because they must have known what Conte was involved. I don't understand Daniel getting these guys and not understanding the ramifications of it, because all they seem to do is set the place on fire and set him on fire. Because Conte and the situation is now all Daniel Levy. Nothing to do with Conte. None of what's happened at Tottenham seems to be to do with Conte. It's all to do with Daniel Levy.
Yeah, but we know that's not true.
Well, we know it's not true.
You've banged that drum for a while. Spot on. I agree.
But we know it's not true. But there's still a very dissentful group of people that believe it to be true.
But not intelligent football supporters. They just don't want to. They're in a dark tunnel. They're not looking at all the different options. They're not seeing the reasons why Tottenham have been so bad to watch. It's because the managers dictated the tactics and the play.
I agree.
This is not all Daniel Levy. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The Harry Kane interview is interesting. There's two aspects to this. What we were talking about, which is attitude, culture, discipline, all those things, which come from the manager, and then and then the senior players carry that on. That's quite easy to influence, especially with him, because he's probably a very good trainer, I would imagine.
But why is it not ingrained in players?
Well, unfortunately,
why do they need a manager to drive it?
Well, because, Jim, unfortunately, what happens when you're egotistical, wealthy, and you think you're really important, which I've been one of those people, is that if someone gives you an inch, you take a mile. You will take your foot off the gas.
Did you do that?
Probably at times, yeah, because you think you get above your station, you drop into a comfort zone, and you need someone to kick you back in. As you get older, you self-manage a lot better. But the other aspect, connecting with supporters, this to me, and Simon made the point earlier, and I agree with him. This whole interview suggests to me that he's staying. It really does, because if not, he's going to look really silly. When you're talking about connecting with the supporters, it wasn't long ago, he was on a golf course with Gary Neville talking about time to leave and blah, 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 and he's trying to get moved to City, right? That's not connecting with your supporters, is it?
Yeah.
Right? So if he's now talking about connecting with the supporters and getting everyone on board again and playing a much more front foot style of football and getting an atmosphere at the stadium where people are enjoying it again and togetherness, You've got to be staying, haven't you? Otherwise, what the hell are you doing that interview?
Well, I said earlier, he's getting chatty. 2 interviews in 3 days.
That's fine. That's chat all you want. Say the right things. Go on. I like what he's saying. It's all positive.
Yeah, but why not add to that, incidentally?
I'm staying.
I'm going to be at Tottenham for a long time still.
Exactly.
You know, just tell us. Tell us.
You can't start talking about connection with the fans if you're going to go in summer, or you nearly went last summer.
I think Danny's right, because then, Simon, it stops people like us and others saying, now, what do we read into this? What do we read into this? What Harry's saying.
But there's
here.
always a time and a place for announcements, and the football club will do what they want to do with the player at the time that best suits them. I've always maintained that I felt that Harry Kane would stay. I think Daniel Levy believes he will stay. I think there are members of his family that would quite like him to stay. Maybe not his brother, because his brother can engineer a move because his brother's an agent, and we can work out backwards how that will look. But I think that, Danny's quite right to say that this... But we know that. Look at football. You've got bloody managers that turn around and go, I'm not going to Wolverhampton Wanderers, I'm staying with QPR. Oh, hang on a second, next bus out to Scotland, off I go. So you can't read between the lines too much, because ultimately people will do what they want to do, and the outcomes will be whatever they are. But it's an interesting interview. I mean, it's different. It's a slight departure, albeit slightly formulaic, because Graeme Souness, and we reference him quite a lot, but Graham's quite chatty these days himself as well, especially on my award-winning podcast. But he,
Danny, it's a matter of time.
But he talks about the nature of Kane's media presence after the spanking they got to Newcastle in the following game, and he was like, well, tell me something. Don't just sit there trotting out PR answers. I get tired of these players not saying anything. They're saying what they think they should say, what they think that people should hear. They're being coached within an inch of their lives.
See what you mean.
And I don't know if this is a little bit more of the same here.
I think we're getting towards that, certainly.
Yeah, but you think you'd be... He's been around a while now, Kane, and he's not stupid. If you're gonna go out and even front up because you're captain and say the things that you think people want to hear, you don't want to put yourself in a world of trouble for the few months down the line.
He's not captain, is he?
Sorry, he's a leader. He's their main man.
Danny. I think the inference here is, we need to try and build that relationship back up and try and push all in the same direction. You're right. The suggestion is, and I'll be here to push.
But why say it?
Why say it?
Why
otherwise?
Come out and even do the interview? Yeah. You know you're going in 3 months.
In the shop.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.